we were just talking about...
Dad was 8 years older than my mother. So when they were married, he was 30 and she was 22.
Oh, I didn't realize there was that
Yes,
big of a difference. Oh.
So, but she died before he did. She died when she was 80, and he died when he was 90, almost 91.
Oh, so he lived a lot longer.
He lived 3 years longer than she did.
3 years. Oh, because of the years.
Because of the age difference.
Oh,
yes.
okay, all right.
But she had a heart problem. She had angina, and I don't remember his being ill or being sick any time. My mother, I think he did fall off the roof and hurt his back, but he was in bed only a day, I believe. And even though I think he broke something in his back, but if he got an infection, it wasn't that serious as far as he's concerned. It would clear out. So he probably had a very good immune system.
Oh. And, interesting. And so then your grandma Berghout, she passed away because of the heart problems.
She had a heart problem for years.
Did she have that her whole life?
What's that?
Did she have that her whole life?
I don't know when it started. I know because of all the children she had, she also had varicose veins, but she had those, I don't know what you call it, when they strip them or something. And she was in bed with those for I don't know how long, but she read the big history of the church while she was in bed.
Oh, they both sound like they were loved to read and were well-educated people.
Well, in Holland, I don't think he went to school beyond the 8th grade, and then my father learned a trade of carpentry. I'm not sure how many years my mother went to school, but actually they were better educated than I think we are today. And my father did genealogy all of his life after he joined the church. And he used to correspond with people, genealogists in Holland, and get letters all the time. And he compiled a big genealogy. And when the Depression came, that was in of course, the building trades were hit first, and so he was unemployed a lot at that time, and that's what he did. He worked on his genealogy. And my three older sisters, Prunella, Martha, and Cora, had jobs, secretarial and other jobs downtown. And they were the ones that really supported the family a lot during the Depression. And then later on, he worked for a fellow in our ward who got weather stripping jobs. And sometimes he would take, I think, Leonard and Richard and Henry with him to do those jobs. So I guess the three girls were a blessing to the family because they really did support with their small salaries, did support the family. And the rest of us all got to go to college. Fred went on a mission, and then he went to Weber and the University of Utah, and then back to Columbia. And let's see, Margaret got went to Weber, and then she was the one that went out to first Manila and then Mount Emmons to work and to teach. And then she married. And then Henry went to Weber and the University of Utah. And Julia went to Weber and the University of Utah and taught school. And Leonard and Richard both went to Weber and the University of Utah. And Gertrude was in home ec, so she went up to Utah State, and because after Weber, and because she was up there, I went up there after Weber.
Oh.
And then John went to Weber and then the University of Utah and the University of Utah Medical School. But we couldn't have done it if my sisters hadn't been the support at home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that was sure a wonderful thing for your sisters to do that, wasn't it?
They were really a blessing to the family.
Mm-hmm. And your mother, she never worked outside the home.
Oh no! In those days, it wasn't really till World War II that women began to work outside the home so much. I mean, married women.
Mm-hmm.
No, my mother, she was a good organizer. She used to do the cooking, and she was a good cook. And then all of us had our jobs. We had to, I remember my job, well, first of all, we started with the dishes, doing the silverware and that. And then on Saturdays, my job was to take the pans out of the pan cupboard and put new newspaper down, because we always had a coal stove. And of course, when you cook with a coal stove, the pans get black on the bottom.
Oh.
And so you have to put paper down or something so the cupboard doesn't get all black. So that was my job, to change the paper each Saturday morning.
Oh.
And Leonard and Richard had to mop the floor.
Oh.
My mother, my mother was very, fastidious about cleaning the house, and my older sister said they had to mop the floor every day when we were little kids because we were crawling around. But later it became once a week, and that's what Leonard and Richard's job in the house was.
Oh.
And I remember having to iron every Tuesday. I think Gertrude and I took turns ironing. And then Monday was always wash day. And of course, at first, my mother would boil different things it was down the basement. We had the wash machine down the basement and a stove down there. So the washing was always done in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and you probably didn't have a dryer, so she...
didn't have one?
You probably didn't have a dryer at all.
Oh, no. You hung them out on the line outside. Uh-huh. And then in the wintertime, she had lines in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh, goodness. Mm-hmm. We sure have a lot of luxuries now, don't we?
Oh, and I remember as kids, we used to, when we'd be doing the dishes, we'd say, oh, wouldn't it be great to have a dishwasher? So that was, it was always by hand.
Oh, goodness.
And we didn't have that many clothes during the Depression. Just a quarter was a lot.
Oh, I bet.
But food, everything was cheaper, but money was hard to come by. We always ate well. My mother, we had salmon, baked salmon, and we always had like pork chops and sauerkraut. And she made a raspberry upside down cake, and uh, we had dinner at noon,
Oh.
and we always had a white tablecloth. We had this big round, well, it was kind of an oval table in the dining room. And my sisters came home from work, and we came home from school, and my dad came home, and we had dinner at noon.
Oh, so everything just kind of stopped for a little while so people could go back home to
Well,
eat?
I don't know if we had more than an hour. I think not. We used to run up the hill. I remember from Lewis, and but that's I'm not sure when that stopped. Uh, the Second World War kind of changed a lot of things. I'm not sure if that stopped then, but yeah, it was always we always had dinner together,
Mm.
and then supper. We had supper around the dining room table, and that's where we studied. We all studied. It was a big oak table that my brother Fred had made in what do they call it? Anyway, in school.
Like in a wood shop
Well,
class or something?
it shop.
Uh-huh.
Man. And the last I remember it was down at Francis and Henry's house.
Oh.
It also had a leaf in it that could so it could be extended. But we always sat around that.
Oh, that's and Aunt Frances and Uncle Henry, they bought the old home, didn't they?
Well,
Yeah.
they bought that and rented it out.
Oh.
And then one of her, I think one of her relatives bought it. So